met a lady at hospital the other day, and she was the one of the last surviving World War II veterans in nursing, and she shared with me about the agony of war, the suffering and the death that she witnessed, and that she had even lost nursing friends of hers in the war. And she said, why? Why does there have to be war? And it's a hard question to ask. Why does there have to be war? Why does there have to be suffering? Well, we see the very fact that there are dictators and people that think that they have a right over other people's lives to choose whether they live or die, and eventually someone's got to stand up and say, that's enough. And we see that England did not want to go to war when Germany was starting to annex other countries, and eventually England said, that's enough, and they entered into war. And America was the same. They decided that they would not support England, and eventually Japan entered the war and started to annex the Pacific Islands, and of course Pearl Harbor happened and they entered the war as well, because they said enough is enough. You know, it's interesting that our ANZAC Day is just after Easter Day. And what is Easter about? It's about Jesus who gave his life for us so that we can enter into his life. And of course he rose again. And he brought us a new life and a new healing. And we see this when in the history of war, when men have made a standard against the enemy, the darkness that floods the land, that brings destruction and havoc and devastation. Yet, in the midst of that, this evil has been stopped. And yet, in stopping it, it just doesn't stop there. The people that have stopped this evil have then begun to help recreate and restore. And I said to this lady, that's what I've seen. I've observed the war, and I've seen firsthand soldiers that came and stayed on our farm, and who knows whether they lived or died when they went back. They were American soldiers in the Vietnam War. But the thing is that those who stopped the evil tide of war then picked up and began to bring healing. And the amazing thing is, the earth has a way of healing itself. And also, humanity and civilization has a way of healing itself. It does not mean we forget the sacrifices that were made, the people that died, but it means that we should grow wiser and should acknowledge what has happened and take stock of what has happened. And you know, on our Christian journey, God says that we are now that standard against evil, that we can rise and say, where there is evil, no, we need to be a standard against that. We need to say, enough is enough. And we need to be as Christ taught us to be, and live as Christ showed us how to live, so that we bring his righteousness to this land, or rather the land, that the little world that you live in, so that where there is evil and where there is destruction, where there is corruption, we show a difference, and that we are a difference. And so we've come through Easter, we acknowledge Christ, his death and his resurrection, the healing and the grace that he's given us. But we take that now out into the world. And today, ANZAC Day, our Remembrance Day, we too say, let's us not forget what has been done for us and the sacrifices that were made. But let us continue as Christians to be that standard that needs to uphold the goodness, the righteousness, the grace, the mercy that needs to be given to the world. Amen. Bless you.